Welcome back to Same But Different, and I forget what I was going to say. We're here to review Oppenheimer. We thought we'd kick it off with what I believe to be most likely contender for Best Picture, to be honest. But
yeah,
I've seen this movie before. Brody had not. I have actually reviewed this movie on our channel, but I really wanted to hear Brody's thoughts on this. So Brody, please tell us, what did you think about Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer?
Stop. Me? This is going to be an interesting way to start my review. I'm going to kick it off with one of the dumbest lines of dialogue I've ever heard in my entire life.
In your whole life?
You're alive. Too bad you will die.
It was just so out of place in this movie. I don't know. The test bomb goes off. We get 3 minutes of people reacting in awe. They're oohs and ahs and oh my god, everyone's watching this happen. Everybody's eyes are on this bomb. And this fucker turns to Oppie 3 minutes later and says, "It worked." Yeah, you brick. It worked. We all saw it work. I thought it was so dumb.
But that's just shock and awe. Like, there was so much room for error. Like,
look here, I'm going to make it better for you maybe. I thought it was a really, really silly, stupid line in an otherwise damn near perfect screenplay.
Oh.
Okay? It made me feel smarter, and it never condescended. It never talked down to me. It just let me get it or not. And luckily I got it. I've never seen such a narrative-driven, dialogue-heavy movie move so damn quickly.
Yes.
Like, the scenes were playing out like machine gun dialogue. Like, some really important scenes in this movie, some pivotal moments in the movie, the scenes were like 20 seconds long, and then it cut. And it's just next, move on. I expected to have to watch this in 2 sittings because, you know, it's a 3-hour dialogue, prose-driven movie. And no, the pace of how this was edited kept me intrigued for the whole 180 minutes.
Loving this so far.
I know. Okay. I knew you would. I was very worried about the black and white back and forth timeline. It seemed sporadic at first. Maybe it was a little sporadic. They just kind of chose wherever to go back and forth, and that's fine. That doesn't really take away from it. But honestly, in any other movie, I probably would have counted that as a flaw. But this movie made the conscious decision to never feel monotonous. I think if it played out chronologically, it would have suffered from feeling boring. Every single performance in this movie was at least above average. Like,
yes.
What an ensemble. And chops I've never seen. I mean, Florence Pugh had a small role. She killed it. Emily Blunt killed it. Even fucking Roderick Rules and Josh Peck did great with their roles. I mean, Gary Oldman came in to play such a convincing Truman.
Very powerful, very brief.
And apparently words he actually said to Oppenheimer, and as he was leaving the room, like, what a whiny baby or whatever. Obviously, special shout out to Robert Downey Jr. I think it's the best I've ever seen him, aside from maybe Chaplin. An even specialer shout out to Cillian Murphy, who's as far, like, never been a leading man, was one of the most entrancing performances I've ever seen in my life. The film, in my opinion, was at its strongest when it played out like a psychological thriller. Getting a look inside his mind, getting to see what's behind that door with that, but only getting to like peek. You never really got to know. Even when he was being asked, like, do you feel guilty? We never really got to know.
Well,
we did,
but not in so many words, but yeah.
Stop telling me how I feel.
The movie told us in pictures and moving
That's
pictures.
what I mean, yes. But he never outwardly said anything. He was all we got an inside look, I guess is what I'm saying. It even breached into psychological horror a little bit sometimes. Yeah. Like, you know what though, I will say that one scene in the auditorium when he was like visualizing the bomb going off and, you know, the lady's skin was coming off is the one scene in the movie I wished had CGI. I know it's so impressive to make a movie like this with not a frame of CGI in it, but her skin coming off kind of looked like a cheap Halloween costume. Such a small gripe. It's 2 seconds of the movie. Cinematography was stunning. Almost seems moot to mention in a Christopher Nolan movie because it's been that way since his first movie. Arguably the only gripe worth actually mentioning, but it is a big one for me at least, is that it was leading us up to the test. The test happened, the bomb was successful, and I checked and there was still over an hour left. I felt like we hit the climax of the movie halfway through the movie. And then for about, I would say, it might be 20 minutes, I'm gonna say 30 minutes, I did finally reach boredom in this movie. Granted, it did a fantastic job of coming back with the, you know, Robert Downey Jr. stuff all unraveling and his right-hand man, like, secretly hating his guts while all this is coming to light.
I hate your stinking guts.
It ended really strong, but for that 30 minutes, I was not enjoying myself because I just watched what I thought was going to be the end of the movie. And then lastly, super quick mention, because this was like all the rage when this came out. The sex scene stuff, wildly blown out of proportion. Wildly blown out of proportion and vital to the plot. Oh my God, 20 seconds of boobies. Let's rage. Who cares?
And she showed me her boobies, and I like them too.
And then one of the best last lines of dialogue in a movie, like probably ever. Probably ever. This movie was really, really good. I was wrong all along. It was amazing. And I will give it 8 atom bombs out of 10.
Whoa. I thought for sure I was getting 5 or less from you.
I had already condemned this movie. I went in with the lowest of expectations. I'm like, this is going to be droll. Nothing's going to happen. The acting will be good. And that's it. And I was wrong. The movie kept me wildly entertained. Such a fun ensemble to see. Everyone just brought their A game, and that's because it's Nolan.
For those of you that have seen my Oppenheimer review, it can be linked somewhere so you can get my full thoughts on it. I'm not going to go too much into my thoughts, but basically everything you said, bro.
Nice.
Basically everything you said. It's a long movie, but it doesn't feel long.
That's what she said.
I don't care that I'm sitting there for a long period of time because I actually really enjoyed being in that world and in that story the way it was being told. It was so entrancing, and it just draws you in with incredible characters and never lets you go.
Yeah.
Except for that maybe half hour you talked about. But that, for me, I knew that the bomb wasn't going to be the crescendo of the movie. We're building up to a bomb, sure, but I know for a fact that test isn't the reason why he feels bad about it, right? Like, it's not until it's actually used that he starts to spiral. So
I didn't know the story of Oppenheimer. I didn't really know that. Like, I know the movie kind of led you into those trials and stuff, but like, I didn't know that.
The Prometheus story, where, you know, it says at the beginning, it quotes it, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to the humans and then was punished. It's just crazy how, like, that story was created millennia ago. And then we basically do that story in real life in American history. Cillian Murphy, fantastic. Robert Downey Jr., fantastic. Everybody else, fantastic. But I have to say 2 things. One, Emily Blunt got the best scene in the movie. When she gets interrogated, best scene in the movie.
So good.
Secondly, I need to see a Josh Hartnett renaissance.
We've all seen 40 Days and 40 Nights.
I don't have many gripes with the movie. I think it's perfect. I think, well, close to. I personally don't think Christopher Nolan misses too often. Maybe Tenet was a little convoluted and a little pretentious. And that feeds into my one and only problem, I think. It is a little inaccessible. Like, the content is a little inaccessible. You said that it never talked down to you, which is good. And eventually you wrapped your head around the science, which is great. But if you don't already have, like, at least a basic knowledge of science or quantum physics, screw you, man. Like, you're going to be lost with the science in this movie.
I'm extremely confused. You're confused. I'm fucking confused, bro.
I would just then argue this movie's not for you, and movies are made not for people all the time.
Sure, but then you get this movie and it's just, like, highly regarded as an amazing movie. It's nominated for Best Picture. It's just, like, world renowned, but it's just, like, it's not a movie that's accessible for a lot of people. And I don't like that. I think a movie should be accessible for everybody, you know? Especially a movie of this caliber. I didn't want it to talk down to me, because I love science. Like, this is a geek and nerd's wet dream of a movie when it comes to quantum physics. I loved it.
Oh, God, stop it.
But I can understand how, like, it's a lot of science.
Fuck you, science!
I love this movie. I really, really do. I think it's a win on the list of Christopher Nolan films. It's definitely up there, top 4, I think, maybe. 8.5 atom bombs out of 10.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
I really think it's going to take home Best Picture. I really do.
I'm almost certain of it.
That brings us to the end of January. We're moving into February. We love to go into February and celebrate Black voices within the film and media community. So that's what we're doing for Black History Month. We're going to be watching Black-made films.
Yeah, I mean, last year brought me to see Friday for the first time, and I fucking loved that movie. So
Yep, Friday was dope.
Bye, Felicia.
We're going to try and keep it newer movies because that's the vibe that we're going for on our channel now. So next week, we are going to watch The Color Purple.
nailed it.
So come back next Monday and watch the movie so you can follow along. That'd be great.
Yeah, le couleur violette. I don't know how to say color in French.
Sure, but it's also not a French movie, so no worries. Keep watching movies. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
Coming in to save the motherfucking day, yeah! America. Fuck yeah!